Well, we have a good group here. Why don't we just go around and say not too much, but just a quick hello and where we're calling from, and then we'll get into it. I think Sharon's here. Did I see you? Yeah, she's here too. So, and then I'll maybe pass it on to Sharon to get us started since it was her question from last week, and um, uh, so yeah. So I'll start. My name's Stephanie Schubert. I'm the operations coordinator with Pacifica Network. Good to see everybody. I see a couple new faces today. That always makes me happy. Good to see friendly faces that I know from before too. And I see Mercedes. Oh, and I'm in Ames, Iowa. I work with Ursula. Usually I'm in the same building with her, but these days it's been once a week, and so that might change soon. So I'm going to pass it over to Mercedes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Mercedes Macias, and I'm at KZFR Chico, California. I'm the president of the board of directors, currently serving a 2-year sentence.
And then if you could pass it on to maybe the next person next to you in the pictures, Mercedes, or
Sure.
somebody.
Next person to me is Joseph Orozco.
Well, good afternoon, and talking from KIE Hoopa, California. I'm the current lead producer / mentor, waiting for somebody to mentor, but in a station manager position. So I'm looking for a new board of directors too. I'm kind of thinking about that. How can we reconstitute a board of directors, Mercedes? And so that's part of what I'm thinking about right now. And thank you for being here, and always enjoy this group. Fred, how about you? How about you going next?
Hi, I'm Fred Portnoy from WNHN LP in Concord, New Hampshire, formerly home of the first primary every 4 years. I'm the operations manager, which I took that title in order to avoid being a station manager. And we are mostly operating remotely. I've set up automation, so most of our producers are working from home. Just 2 or 3 of us go into the studio once or twice a week, and usually not at the same time. And that's where we're at.
Good to have you, Fred. If you could pass it on to someone else.
There is Davin.
Davine, yeah.
Davine, yes.
Davine in Asheville. So all is well here. I got my second COVID vaccine yesterday. I feel pretty good. I don't have serious effects yet. And looking forward to going out to dinner with friends in about 3 weeks.
Very nice. And
Yeah.
you pass it on to the next one?
Yeah, David Clan, have you spoken yet, David?
I have not. Thank you, Davine. I envy you and your ability to go out to dinner with friends. That sounds awesome. Nothing like that here. Just hanging out and waiting, working really hard. I've been super busy the last month or so.
And where are you calling from, David?
I'm in Minneapolis. Yeah.
Excellent.
I kind of got on a little late, so I don't know who's spoken.
Oh, okay. I can help with that. Let's
Thanks.
to Richard Davis.
Hey everyone, Richard Davis, the general manager at KUYI Hopi Radio. Right now I'm in Flagstaff, running the station remotely, which is located on the Hopi Reservation in northeastern Arizona. Sorry I haven't been able to join you all for a while, but rest assured I have been watching what Stephanie's sending and learning in absentia. I pray you're safe and healthy as can be.
Well, thank you, Richard. It's good to have you. And let's go from Richard to Celeste over at KBOO.
Oh, we can't hear you, Celeste. I can see you talk and I can't hear.
And it looks like you don't have a muted mic. I wonder if it's a...
No, I had to switch systems. I was moved from my laptop, so let me mute this other one here. There we go. I spoke a little bit earlier. I'm in Portland, Oregon at KBOO Portland. One of the co-managers here, and I too join from time to time, and glad to see everybody is holding up. It's our collective strength that's keeping radio on the air, and that's not hyperbole, not at all.
Excellent. Thanks, Celeste. And from Celeste, let's go to Lori.
Hi, everyone. Lori at WERA in Arlington, Virginia. We are hanging in here. I got my first dose of the vaccine 2 weeks ago, so I have a couple more weeks. Yeah, having morbidities. Yay! My colleague is getting her first one today, so soon the two main folks here will be vaccinated. We are working towards reopening, but we also are in a space that in a building that is potentially going to be sold. We've known this for a couple years, especially the past year. So yeah, it never ends. And we had a hard drive crash on our production computer for ENCO 2 weeks ago. So still recovering from that. And I just want to give a shout out to David about your spreadsheet on automation, because we're revisiting whether or not ENCO is still the right tool for us. So.
Oh, it's totally not. I can guarantee you that.
Oh, that's good to hear.
No pressure there. I'll post the link. Oh, I'm sorry. Finish up.
No, I was just going to say thank you for that, because we do have a part-timer who's been wonderful to have, and he has a lot of the technical skills that I know a little bit about some things, but he knows how to set up more of the automation, and he's just like, why do we have this and why do we have that? So he really appreciated your spreadsheet as well.
Cool. For those that don't know, I'll post the link to it in the chat.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Lori. Let's go to Adiva.
Adiva is me. That's my laptop.
Oh, okay. Did you have two different?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, nice to meet you at Celeste's laptop. How about Ursula?
Hi.
Hi.
Just hello. It's good to see everybody. And we've been discussing the whole issue of opening the station, so I'm looking forward to hear what other people have to say. Yeah, I'm halfway through my vaccination.
Yeah.
And almost everybody working at the station. I mean, we've been closed the whole time, still are closed, but we have about 5 people who come into the station to work, and everybody except 2 people, including Stephanie, have not been vaccinated yet, but everybody else is. So it's I never thought we'd get here. It's kind of amazing that we're actually at this point.
It is amazing.
Yeah, but we still are closed and have no plans to open currently. But we do have plans to send. We were inspired by Ollie Lightfoot's survey, and so when the time comes, we will issue a survey to our people. But not now, because there's so much pressure to come back to the station. We don't want to feed that in any way. So still up in the air, but there seems to be some sort of vague light at the end of the tunnel, which is amazing. That's enough for me right now. And my 100-year-old dad is finished being vaccinated, so that's big weight off of my chest. Well, Klaus, he's vaccinated, so he survived. I didn't kill him. That's all I have to say.
Could you put maybe in the chat something more about the survey you had? I don't want to take up any more time about it, though.
Yeah, if you look back at our archive of roundtables, there was a roundtable called Listener Surveys, which is a little bit misnamed. It's actually surveys. And the last, I think the second to the last presenter or the last presenter, if you kind of scroll through the video, you'll see at the end, Ali Lightfoot talks. She's station manager of KVMR, and she's kind of blonde hair. And she posted on the roundtable, so on the screen you can see the survey they made. It's interesting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we had one more person who called in by phone. Did you want to say hi, phone number person? They might be just listening. Sometimes the phone person is just listening. Okay, well, if you ever want to say hi, you can. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sharon. Sharon brought this up last week, and I thought it was really good, and I'm sure you guys do too. Good idea to talk about when it's appropriate to reopen, and it sounds like everyone's ready to get talking about it. And Sharon, you framed it so well last time. If you're okay with starting us off, and then if you want to say hi too, of course.
Okay, great.
We'll do that.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm Sharon Scott. I'm with WXOX in Louisville, Kentucky. We have been remote broadcasting since last March, which is unbelievable. Our station is downtown Louisville, but it's shut down at the moment. And we're doing some pretty major studio renovations, which we kind of thought we had a lot of time to do. And now suddenly things are speeding up. So, you know, all our DJs are still live. They're all broadcasting from home very happily. So there's not really a rush or a push other than that we just want to be together and be celebrating. We discussed, you know, the question last time was, you know, that the president is saying that we will all have an opportunity to be vaccinated by May 1st, I believe is the time. And that's, you know, just a month and a half or less away, which is incredible. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of time after people get vaccinated to build up the immunity and whatnot. But, you know, it's getting to a time where I know our DJs are going to be banging on the door of the studio asking to come back inside. So we're just trying to kind of prepare for that and to, you know, because right now I don't have an answer. They ask me and I'm kind of just, I don't know. We're playing it day by day. We had a board meeting this week and the board felt like, you know, there's no rush because we are providing all the services we want to provide by remote broadcasting. Everybody is live and on the air. And opening the studio, it's not like it would bring us a lot more money or enable us to get different guests on air because we have been able to get our guests on via Zoom and that sort of thing. So as far as the benefits to rushing to open, we didn't really see any benefits in that necessarily. And the board felt like we should, you know, just take it slow and just wait a little bit longer and not rush things. And again, so we're just playing it day by day and, you know, just interested to hear what you guys are doing. So good to see everyone.
Does anyone have any response they want to start off with? I see Celeste and David. Well, Celeste, you were talking earlier before we started. Why don't you go ahead and then David next?
Okay. We are also still doing, for the most part, remote pre-recorded programming. And I'd love to learn some tricks that you're doing about live. Our building is going to have to remain closed, and the push up of the vaccination schedule is also affecting us because we have structural and we have structural challenges. Like I was saying earlier, our HVAC system, our heat ventilation system is not working properly. And according to our state's mandates, it must be working to bring staff back. So we can only have a few people in at a time. And the challenge is finding the money and a contractor that's not swamped to get in there and make those changes. And we don't have the money, but we are working with the Portland Development Commission to find funds, since we're a nonprofit, And we're working with things like the Energy Trust of Oregon to try to get some assistance, either in reduced costs or no cost or what have you, so we can fix that. And what we ended up doing is triaging, how we're approaching this. First, the building and the things that are utterly necessary for an OSHA improved and a state approved environment. And then what programming is most important to the cohesiveness, not only of the small KBOO community, but the city, our listeners as well. And so we're challenged because we know people are going to want to push to get into the station because we don't have that live broadcasting component. The only thing we have live is our morning talk strip, and we have a board op that goes in and runs the phones and everybody calls in. And so people want that live spontaneous connection, and that's going to be probably what's going to drive people to push us probably faster than we feel safe in going in. I used to be a nurse. I'm waiting to see everybody get the shots because we may have a schedule, but I want to see it realized first. And I don't know that we're all going to get them. So I'm trying to learn from you all how you're putting together a workable response. So I will be talking to you, Sharon, to find out how you're doing live, because we may have the technology and just not know it.
You do, Celeste. It's very easy and inexpensive. We wish
Okay.
we'd been here with some of the previous sessions, but I do have a link I can send you where I did a
Perfect.
demonstration and everything. So
Perfect. Thank you.
even post that. in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be worth it to check out some of our previous roundtable recordings too for that. There's some good information on there.
Okay.
I can send you a link to that.
Celeste, you brought up a topic though that I'm really interested in, which is the filtration systems. I'm
Mhm.
curious how many stations have a filtration system and which are really the ones that are considered, up to the job, considering what we're dealing with the pandemic. Obviously, studios have an issue with ventilation, so I'm just real curious about that. I think probably the day has arrived when we need to look at that too here. So I'm just curious if anybody has researched this or not, and if we or if we need to do that.
I think we might have some research that I can send, so I'll put that in my to-do list here to dig that up and post it. So if we got something worth the effort, you all can see it. Yeah.
I'd appreciate that. Celeste, are you at KBOO?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Any other thoughts on that topic? Mercedes?
So at KZFR, we're in a very old building and we have filtration issues as well. And that's something that's being talked about by our staff right now because the airflow on our floor is just, open a window and then that's kind of the only options. So yeah, we are also exploring that because I believe that's also a California requirement, but that we have to have a working HVAC filtration system. Yeah.
Any other thoughts on filtration systems? Lori?
Yeah, we're kind of in a similar boat. Because we have the television component as a public access TV station as well, but our audio production suite has no HVAC, no heat, no cooling. Our air studio doesn't have a dedicated unit, so and there's definitely no actual like return vent or anything in there, and it's kind of cost prohibitive for us to pay for anything. We could get something portable, but then you've got to spend money on something that's quiet. But similar to Celeste, where we have people doing and sending those in, we've got nobody live. So we also feel the pressure of like, I'm fully vaccinated. Why can't I come in and do my show? It's like, well, not everybody's so lucky. And I think there's some people are forgetting that the vaccine isn't a cure. It of what happens if you contract the virus. So I'm feeling the pressure because I'm susceptible to complications from it. I feel a little bit better now that I have the first dose, but there are so many factors involved, and we're looking at a modified possibility of the radio booth itself, but possibly in another space, and separating people as best as we can. Our air studio is less than 6 feet. It's tiny. And you have more than one person in there, they can't be 6 feet apart. So I think people forget that just because people are vaccinated, and you can't guarantee that everyone has the vaccine, even at the end of the year, there are people who just aren't going to get it. That, there's situations involved with that. And like we're talking about, there's also those of us who are employees, we have protections depending on your state regulations. I know Virginia has put in place regulations to protect workers and, where their workspace. So, to look at that, and then to top it off, we have to probably, most likely have to find a new place to live. So it's hard to to do that. But I know some of our colleagues on the public access side have put together some information. So I'll see if I can collate that in some way to share at some point. And I know folks in the public radio side and FCB have shared some policies and procedures and to help with that reopening question.
We also have some questions about volunteers and interns, because we have volunteers that want to come back into the building.
I just wanted to check with David too. First, he was going to go next.
Thanks, Stephanie. I'm happy to hold off on my question. I was going to drill down, but this is more important, I think. So I'm happy to wait.
Okay. Volunteers and employees. Mercedes.
So at our station, we have 4 paid employees, and then the rest of our 120 volunteers, plus our 10-member board, plus our cab, all that's volunteer. Our programmers are all volunteer. So this is a question that we have as well, that we have been allowing certain people that are staggered to come into the building all of this time with cleaning periods and then space in between programs. So where there's a pre-recorded program in between. And people have been bringing their own portable air filters from home, is my understanding. And the reason that we've been doing this is because of the pressure, and the board has made mandates about things, and then how that gets actually implemented has been a challenge. So that's where we're at with this.
Any responses?
I have a question in regards to that. Do you require staff and volunteers to sign, like, I don't know, an agreement or a waiver saying that they understand the situation? Or, I know some stations have put together something that, you understand the complications of the situation and you're not being held liable if you contract the virus and that sort of thing, like a liability thing is what I'm asking.
Right. It would certainly be great if we did. We have not implemented that, and that's something that we'll be working on right now. But our station, I should mention, is in a transitory period between a longstanding general manager of 12 years and moving to the next chapter with his retirement. And that has been taking up a huge portion of the board's time. And so, yeah, it sure be great if we had all those liability waivers.
Yeah, or at least, one thing that I'd like is an agreement that you'll follow the procedures that we've set forth to keep everyone safe, type of thing. I've seen some of those floating about too.
I will tell you that without having written procedures for how to navigate this crisis over the last year, I mean, we've written our safety plans that are required by the state of California. We did that initially back in March last year. And then when we had two programmers who are a married couple contract COVID, and they disclosed to the station immediately when their tests came back positive, there was this uproar among the rest of the programmers, kind of like a witch hunt, that demanding to know who it was, and all of this for contact tracing, even though the station had already contact traced based on what we knew when they had come in for their show, because they were on the same show. And yet people still were in this uproar, and because of HIPAA compliance and stuff, we could not out these people. And they came forward voluntarily due to the hubbub. But yeah, having a written policy, had we foreseen the necessity of it, really would have smoothed that out.
Joseph, I see you have a comment or question?
I was on another Zoom call yesterday at NFCB, and KZUM sounded like what they did. They didn't close, and they have the pictures of their staff at their studios, and everybody had all of their personal protection stuff, and everybody had their own individual mic cover. And the way she described it was that they sat down as a group and came up policies that they would all agree upon, and everybody did sign waivers, and it was all really explained to them that, and they made that decision that they wanted to keep operating. I forget how many people there are on that staff. As for our station, we have 3 full-time paid staff and no volunteers. So, and then we're an essential department of the Hoopa Valley Tribe, so we're all vaccinated, and we're all well aware, because we have this COVID-19 update program 3 times a day, and the doctors are live on the air, and the emergency Office of Emergency Services people are there. So we get the rundown of what is happening, and we are told over and over, yes, get vaccinated, but it's not a cure. It is to prevent you from seriously damaging yourself should you do get that virus. And yes, you still can catch the virus, and you can still spread the virus. So face masking is essential.
Yeah.
And the cleanup is essential. And so that's what we do. We carry that on. And well, we're all in separate parts of the office right now. So we're only 3 of us. So it's easy to maintain over 6 feet distance from one another. That's why I don't wear face masks right now. And well, no one else is in this room. So we're safe by not having a lot of people. But should we have a lot of people, then okay, then I'm in the same boat as a lot of the other people. So that's my input. That KZUM, I believe, does have that policy and does have that process. I can email her and see if she can share that, and then I'll pass it on. That's my input. Thank you.
Great. That's neat to have the whole staff participate in the development of the protocols. That's a great idea.
Any other thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, the counsel I was given was that you can't really enforce a waiver of liability. You know, that even if you ask people to sign a waiver that you're not responsible for them if they get COVID, that it really, you know, that it really doesn't work. On the other hand, it's very, very difficult to prove where you get COVID, right? But we considered the waiver idea, but we were basically told it's not really a thing. You know, it's not really a legally binding document. So I don't know.
That's what our attorneys advised us as well, not on this particular subject, but on other volunteer liability. Because apparently our insurance, I don't know if you all have this, but the few different insurance companies we've been with actually don't insure the volunteers if they get hurt on the job, because they're considered employees, even though they just volunteer. And so we would need, we would actually need employment insurance to protect ourselves from that.
Yeah, the one thing I'm not clear on is whether we do have liability insurance for the building. Sharon, do you think that covers? I didn't think of that.
Yeah, the two different insurance companies we've had have both said that it would cover like a guest or someone who came to a party or something like that, but not actually the volunteers themselves, because that would be workman's comp insurance that we would need to cover that, which of course is extremely expensive. And I fought with both of them about it as best I could, but I guess they consider them employees, which makes our liability almost worthless, because everybody who comes in our studio is a DJ pretty much.
Right.
So, but our attorney did say that those kind of waivers do not hold any water, as you mentioned, Ursula. But she said that the thing is that some people think they do. So if they sign the waiver, at least they have this idea in their head that they can't sue the radio station. Unless then they consult with an attorney, and the attorney says, oh yeah, you can. But anyway.
Yeah. But on the other hand, it's pretty hard to prove
True.
Where you get COVID.
Good point.
Fred and then Celeste.
I was wondering if anyone else is thinking about, with governors rushing to open up their economies and their entertainment and so forth really as fast as Texas all over the country. Are we going to be looking at another major surge before things calm down due to vaccination? And is this timing going to be further out than we're hoping it is?
As a former nurse, and given the fact that the virus mutates as viruses do, and the fact that, and it's been said in this roundtable, that the vaccination does not prevent you from getting it and spreading it, so you could become an asymptomatic carrier, I would assume and I would prepare, and that's what we're doing. I'm just assuming and preparing, because really, I'm not going to worry myself that it's going to happen. I'm just going to prepare and be ready. What else can we do? And so, I mean, take it as a grain of salt, but that's my advice. Don't worry, just prepare.
Anyone else?
If nothing else, I wanted to ask, because you bring up a really important part when you said about liability waivers and whatever. So in my last job, I worked for the city of Portland and for the bureau that was formerly called Neighborhood Involvement. And we would partner with organizations like, all of a sudden now I can't remember the name, but they go around, solve and clean up areas. And so that meant you could be exposed to toxins or needles or whatever. And they have you sign a waiver. Now, I wonder if anybody ever looked at what kind of waiver did they have that was valid and had, legal integrity versus what we do. And if maybe there just needs to be some type of consideration given for how we word our need for a waiver or how we present this to our attorneys. Because I know that when we would do neighborhood and community cleanups, we would have that similar waiver. Sometimes we use the SOL waiver because they were a partner, and it stood legal test. And I'm wondering if it's just the way we're presenting it to our attorneys, because there's got to be some coverage for us that protects us against, malicious charges or suits, but also supports the volunteers in some way. And I'm just wondering, is it a matter of how we framed it, or does anybody have any idea? Because that's a concern we're going to have coming back into the station.
David.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not even a station manager, but it seems to me that the whole point of a waiver is, first of all, education. It's like, remember, this can happen to you. And second of all, we care about you in our community of community radio volunteers. And we want you to know that we think this could still happen, and we want you to be aware of it. And we really, Celeste, you nailed it. Like, can we find the legal wording that makes it, I think, enforceable? And, we don't want you to sue us if you get it. I mean, Ursula, you also were spot on. It's like, how are you going to prove it? But, the whole point of the thing is communication with the volunteers. And, we want you to be healthy, and we don't want to get in a fight with anybody.
And to be sued, I'm not a lawyer either, but our lawyer who's on our board was recently in our board meeting, and she felt like we could legally open up, and she wasn't afraid of that so long as we upheld all the governor's orders for opening up, and that we were taking all the proper precautions, at which point it did not seem like she was concerned about us getting sued if someone caught it, because that would mean that they would have to prove negligence in some way, that we weren't trying to prevent the disease. And I got the vibe, again, not a lawyer, that so long as we proved, look, this is a very contagious disease, everybody knows it's out there, we were doing everything we could to protect our volunteers, and they got it. As long as they couldn't prove it was something we did by negligence, I'm not feeling like she was worried about lawsuits.
Oh yeah, Ursula.
Well, I'm thinking, based on what you're saying, Sharon and David, and I'm just kind of constructing this on the fly because we've been talking about this at the station a number of different ways, is that it seems like a really valuable part of opening the station would be maybe not signing a non-liability statement, but signing a statement saying, I understand, and using that as an opportunity to outline again, what vaccines can and can't do, and, the risks that exist at large, period, right now because of the pandemic, and that the person can sign that they understand those realities, both for their risk and also for their, seriousness of behavior, something like that, that would show due diligence, right, Sharon? So there would be a real attempt to educate, and as part of, so that would be a form of due diligence.
We sent out at the beginning of this, when we were keeping the station open, I sent out an email that basically said, this is a highly contagious disease. It's here in Louisville. If you come to the station, it is at your own risk. And then we also in that email had all the protocols they had to do for cleaning and whatnot when they were there. And I made every DJ respond to that email saying that they had got and understood that email. And they were not given the code. We changed the code on the door, and they were not given the code on the door until they responded to that email and said they understood. So that might be one way to do it. I'd be happy to dig up that email and share it if necessary.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But now you have to add language about the vaccine, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Right. Something new.
Well, that would be a simple matter of just copying and pasting for hard copies, or copying and pasting to website or putting a link in for the education so you don't have to rewrite it. Just make a hyperlink for your webpage. Because I know that's one of the things we had done initially when we were dealing with the governor's measures. And a lot of people were upset, and it's like, hey, take it to the governor, don't take it to us. Here's the hyperlink, But yeah, so it sounds like if we were looking at something comprehensive, we would have some kind of waiver or signing of some statement that says, number one, what the risks are coming here. And number two, you're going to agree to be compliant with whatever measures we're taking, lawful, health-based, science-based, whatever measures we're taking, and that you will do your part in breaking the chain. Because it sounds like the only thing we can do is educate and encourage. I mean, what does that sound like to you all?
Well, and also, per your previous comment about planning for another surge, include wording in there that says we will close the station down as soon as we realize it's necessary.
We implemented a 3 strikes rule also. When I sent out that email, let them know, that this is serious, and if you violate these policies, we will shut the station down. And one of the things was you will not come to the station sick. If you have a cold or a hangover or a stomach bug, I don't care, don't come to the station if you're sick. And I can't tell you how many times I told the DJs that. And that is what I told myself, when the first person came to the studio sick, I said, okay, I'll give it 2 more times. And if 2 more DJs come to the station sick, which you can tell because you can hear their voices, you know what I mean? You're like, wait, are you sick? Really? And so that happened 3 times, and it was 3 strikes for me. And when the 3rd person came to the studio sick, that's when we shut down. So you could, maybe let your DJs know something about that. We're trying to reopen. We want to do this safely. If you guys can't uphold these policies, we'll shut back down again. That could, and nobody wants to be the one to get the station shut down for everybody else.
Yeah, you could even add that wording. We're going to tell everybody why we shut down.
Yeah, we don't have to tell them your name, but we sure will tell them.
Yeah.
The time the station got shut down.
Yeah.
Well, so the language has to include something about not only that you'll obey the policies, but that if you are sick, you'll notify station immediately and not come. And it sounds silly that you have to say it, but apparently you do.
Unbelievable, you do. Yes. Everything.
Yeah, Mercedes.
I feel that in our area, we're in Northern California, and we have a California State University here in Chico. And that atmosphere around the university has created a lot of cognitive dissonance and general disorientation for our community members that COVID is over, because a lot of these students have been carrying on for the last year as if nothing is going on in the world, having massive gatherings, frat parties, sorority parties, and the university is not cracking down on that and has not been because of the politic and the fact of how much money these out-of-town students bring to this community. And St. Patrick's Day was yesterday, and all of the bars were packed. Outside was packed, people wearing masks around their neck. And what I'm trying to say is that because of this atmosphere that exists in our community, there is this kind of perception that COVID is over. And it gets very confusing, because then we also have a very vibrant arts and music scene here. And KZFR is largely music. We have about 85% of our programming right now is, actually it's more like 90, is music. And so then the push for live shows and the push for KZFR event fundraisers that used to be a really big part of our revenue is just huge. And so then as a board and as staff, trying to volley between the science and what the state is saying and what the community wants based on what the community is seeing is a very, very difficult tightrope, because right now people are not happy with the board for the tough decisions that we're making. And that seems to be the nature of this beast.
Mercedes, the New York Times did us a great favor here in Ames, Iowa, because they named us the worst town in the country. And boy, did that change things overnight. And nobody has ever gotten over that shaming.
Oh, well, you have to have a sense of shame for that to work. And I will tell you,
It worked. It worked.
see, you know, I wish shame was more effective, but there are shameless is a thing. And we have that here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, they did us a big favor.
Girl, yes.
You're still not allowed to go on campus without a mask, even outside, even outdoors. So, and you just, right, Stephanie? I don't see students walking around without masks now. It's like, that really, that was so effective. That was a great favor they did us. I don't really know why they picked Ames, Iowa, because I don't think we were that unusual for a college town. But thank you, New York Times.
Any other thoughts on this particular topic or any other topics?
I guess let's say we get to the place where vaccinations are readily available. Everyone can have one that wants one. What will your station require a vaccination? Will you require some kind of proof that they've had COVID? If you don't, will you ask people to continue the cleaning methods? Is there any way to foresee how you guys will deal with that?
I think one of the things we talked about was we probably don't feel that we could require people to wear masks while they're on the air. But we could require the sock over the microphone.
I like the idea that Joseph had, that everyone had their own personal one that they took care of, like their own.
We do that. We're handing them out, and we're asking people to, pay for some of the costs.
And what do you hand out?
We ordered a bunch of the foam socks, these. And we also, we're trying to also wash them. So people, right now, the only people coming in are the board ops for the talk show, but the other folks who want to go on the air, the expectation is you'll have your own headphones and your own sock. We're trying to figure out how to order those cost effectively and make them affordable, just because some people just don't have the money and they want to do radio. And so that's one thing we're going to require. We also do have somebody, we never had anybody paid to come in and do cleaning. We have somebody who is paid to come in and sanitize and clean our restrooms and our common areas, and we limit access to the common areas. The other challenge, though, is you can do radio with a mask on. I have. And yeah, it sounds just a little muffled, but if it's a good quality cloth mask, it sounds a lot better than the paper mask, and you can do it. As for proving it, this is where the rubbers meet in the road. My OSHA obligation is to my paid staff. So I have to keep a healthy environment for them. Then come the volunteers. The thing is, all staff are going to have to get a vaccine, and we're going to ask the volunteers, look, our priority is going to be the people who are able to get the vaccine and willing to show us proof of, because I owe it to my paid staff to take care of them. And I don't expect that to be popular. So I'm trying to learn all of the mediation steps I can take to be really diplomatic and helpful and approachable and open as we deal with this. Because really that's what it's going to come down to, is just encouraging people to be their best selves and be an adult about this and say, look, if you endanger the radio station, that's like using profanity on the air outside of the safe haven. You're endangering it for everybody. So we can't afford to be selfish or self-centered you know, and of course I've got the wordsmith this, so I'm, you know, I'm not being rude, but I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's like protect the station so you can keep your show. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Fred also wrote, I heat the mic filters and water up to 160 degrees between uses. And Sharon said KF94s are great for protection and easy talking. And it also has a comment, I see.
Yeah, amen to what Ms. Carey just said. You know, if we're concerned about protecting our license, we're definitely concerned about protecting the lives of our staff and volunteers. And we will continue to use both masks, pop filters, and the mic condoms until the foreseeable future. And we are making it a requirement that all volunteer DJs and guests, if they enter the studio, we're not open yet, but when we do open, that they also have proof of vaccination and wear their mask the entire time on air. I'm extremely concerned about the slippery slope that opens up with an airborne virus when we allow DJs to speak in a studio facility with their masks down. I don't have the trust in my own cleaning capability to make sure that I would get everything particulate wise. So we're still hammering the fact that when we do have staff go in, which they are in staggered days, that you wear your mask properly, because that's still an issue. And that if you were to remove your mask while talking behind the mic, well, the virus travels further than your microphone, and that's still in the ambient air. And we are using different mics for each DJ, staff member, and host right now, if they do go in. So we did open up the wallet and buy extra microphones. So each staff person has their own cans and their own mic and their own pop filter. And as Joe was alluding to on our NFCB call the other day, those little shower caps for the microphones as well. I haven't ordered those yet, but I will. And there was a great safety document circulated through NFCB the other day. And if anyone's interested, I'll put my email in the chat. I can send that out to you as well for an agreement for wearing masks in the station. And yeah, that's it. It's so heartening to see and hear all of you. And it's going to be very useful for when I do continually explain to my fellow colleagues, my board, and my community that we're not the only station that's severely limiting things. It's difficult, it's hard, but I can't tell you how much of a relief it is to sit amongst colleagues like you all and hear how serious you're taking it as well. That takes a huge load off of my shoulders when I'm presenting this to my staff and volunteers, that this isn't just us, it's just not Chicken Little Richard here, you know, thinking the sky's falling, but that this is writ large in our community stations. Thank you.
Yeah. Richard, which station are you with?
KUII Hopi Radio on the Hopi Reservation, Northeast Arizona, where we had 3 times to 4 times the rate of infection and death as Arizona had. And of course, Arizona was the highest in the entire world for a good period of 2 weeks. Thanks in part to our Republican governor.
Yeah. Richard, you are on the air too, aren't you?
I try not to be. You know, I'm a guest in the community, but yes, from time to time.
Does this man have a voice for radio or what?
For sure, for sure. You know, one of the things that, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm making a presumption here, I hear underneath all of our conversations is this concern of keeping the peace, staying PC, being woke, being aware, being an ally, all that, but knowing that we have to deal with some hard truths that people are not wanting to accept as an absolute reality. And a lot of times I fall back on my former career and training as a nurse, when you have to share a hard truth about somebody's health, or you have to get compliance for something that may be difficult or painful or embarrassing. Like, okay, let me just say it, an enema, okay? The fact is that I always put myself in their position. I try to put myself as much as I can in a state of mind. But I tell them, look, this is the reality here. It comes down to me finding a acceptable way to get you to buy into help yourself. Because we opened the door so that people can come in and do radio and talk to each other and be community. But there's as much of a responsibility as there is to that privilege. And you gotta grow up and be grown up and help us pull, because if you're gonna throw what amounts to a tantrum, you put me in the awkward position of having to put the radio station above you, you know? And I was hired by the station. I'm always going to choose the station over you when you put it in that stark competition. And I try to find as diplomatic a way as I can of saying that, but it's kind of like a parent saying, don't make me choose between my children. You know, don't make me do that. Don't make me choose the radio station over you, because I see you. I see as you're a human being. You want to come in here. You want to connect to people. You want to share. But if you do something that upsets the station's ability to offer you that, then we're both getting flushed down the toilet. So help me help you. And that's the only way. And I'm going to tell you, I still need to hear from you all to help me stay that strong, because I'm not always able. Some days I just go, I don't feel like this fight. This is not my hill. I'm not dying here. But that is the hill I have to be on. And, you know, and I can't backpedal. So it's a mutual support thing, you know.
Thank you, Celeste. And thank you, Richard, too.
You got to unmute, Mercedes, so we can hear you.
Oh, I'm waiting to be
Oh,
called
you were
on.
raising your
over
hand.
here.
I'm sorry, I was dreaming.
No problem. No, great. Thank you, Celeste. Thank you, Richard, for saying what you've said. I really do turn also to this group as a bit of a support group because of these exact issues. And I couldn't have, that was the message of the day, Celeste. Thank you that, yeah, you guys helped me to stay strong in these things as the president. And I think that there's also this notion, and I've been hearing it on social media and in our community, and then from some friends too, that, oh, I can't wait for things to get back to normal. And I feel like people do need to accept that there is no going back. I mean, we've all but eliminated the seasonal flu because of the COVID precautions. And if we, like, why would we want to go back to a time where folks cough on each other and wipe their nose and touch them? I mean, no, we cannot go back. Things have to keep going forward with a different attitude of how to respect each other in this country. But in our community, I mean, people have been wearing masks in Japan as a matter of public health and in other Asian countries for so long. And this hyper individualism here is a disease. So I think the community radio is very important at rooting those things out and putting the community above the individual. So thanks for saying that, Celeste, because this is something that we've been butting heads at our station with a lot of old timers. We're a 30-year-old station. And these core people who founded the station sometimes just say, I want things to be like they've always been forever. And that's all I want. And that's great. And I respect the elders that have built, on whose shoulders we are standing. But there's also a time where, you know, hey, move out of the way or get on the train because we're coming through, you know.
Amen.
Ladies.
Amen. You know, this is that singularity. Well, it's not the singularity, but I call it one of them that has changed society forever. Because when you think about it, especially months back before the vaccine really rolled out, the entire world was shut down. The entire world changed. Everybody was on the internet at the same time, things like that. And we, just like they say, a mind, once it perceives of a new thought, never returns to, never regains that shape. We're not going to be the same. There is no normal. This is normal because that's what we're all experiencing. It's just that it's a shifting, changing, undulating normal. And that's it. But yeah, I've heard some things in here that are really helpful. Again, we'll be talking to you, Sharon, because you said key codes, and we want to go to that so much. And I can't wait to have a little conversation with you about how that worked for you, because we want to do that. We're looking at both the tech and the cost and the efficacy of rolling it out, because we got at least 250 volunteers, not counting the staff. So
What is key codes?
We just have, it's very simple. What we have is just a door lock that has buttons on it with numbers, and we change the code periodically. Like if we get if we lose a DJ, either good or bad terms, if we lose a DJ, we change the code there, and then we just change it regularly, just kind of to keep things on their toes. It's not obviously not the most secure thing. I'm sure David has some good suggestions. Some like Wayo up there, they have an amazing fob system. There's way better ways.
Yeah, I was just going to say KFAI has a fob system. It's just a little thing that I keep on my key ring, and this can be deactivated at any time. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
We have a door, a code system on the door, and it has an app, and it tells me every time somebody uses the door and who it is. So we have a record of all activity.
Yeah, and so you have a way to change the access code. Can you make it an access code specific to an individual?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you've got what I think Sharon is talking about.
Yeah.
No, ours is not nearly that complex. Ours is just, we just have one code, and I don't know who uses it, and if it's in the wrong hands.
No, everybody has. In fact, somebody once came and stole our credit card and used it, and we knew who it was right away because of who came into the building.
What system do you use, Ursula? Do you know what it's called?
I have it on my phone here. I can actually use it from my phone. I can open the door from anywhere.
Wow.
Using my phone, which is kind of amazing. It's called.
That's very cool.
We have a similar system with key fobs. We use Brivo, BRIVO.com. I actually got the idea from my mom, who works at the church I grew up in back home, because they had keyless entry, and you can program. It's not cheap. I'm not sure we're paying the proper amount, but the installation, there's some overhead, but we pay about $34 a month. It's just one door. And the fobs can be set for certain times. So for instance, when we were open, I had a DJ on Saturday nights, and her key fob was good from 8:30 p.m. to, she's on the air till midnight. And I think I set it till 1, because it's like, what if you go and I forgot my bag, I forgot that record, I forgot that CD, but it tells me who was in there, and I can go online, and I can also use my phone too, because the 7 a.m. DJ used to always forget his, and I would get a wake up call, because I don't get up that early, and I would just press the button and get a text, I'm in, and roll over, go back to sleep. But it is nice to have that set and know who's coming when, and to see who's been in.
Ours is called August. Yeah, and it gives me an activity report.
Mercedes and then Davey.
Oh, I was just going to ask David if his key fob system could be individualized and deactivated, because you said it could be deactivated. Is that all of them at the same time, or can they be individually deactivated?
Both. Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Thank you. That's all.
Yeah. And Sharon mentioned Wayo, WAYO in Albany. Rochester.
Rochester.
Yeah. They built their system. It's pretty cool. They presented it at one of the GRCs, and it's, if you're on a budget, I see Celeste is out of her chair, but it can be done less expensively than some of the commercial offerings.
I have another question that I'm wondering if anybody's thought about. And it's kind of a little bit on the other side of all this.
Can
We've
we
been
go,
trying
is it
to,
okay, Ursula, if we go to Davine first?
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see Davine was waiting.
So we have keypad that's Sledge, SCHLAGE. I think it was around $500 or $600 to buy it. And it has to be installed, and I can key in, it's a keypad. So let's see if I can get it on there, right here. And they key in 4 digits and a pound sign. And I can program it and deprogram it. And I have had to use it. But we also, most of us have a expired cell phone or iPad. I have an iPad with security camera that I use as a security camera aimed at the door, so I know who comes in. I get a notice from them. It's called Presence, and it's an alternative thing to do with an older when you got a new iPad or a new phone. That's something you can do with your older phone. So I know everyone who comes in. And that software is called Presence by People Power, but there are probably others also that would do the same thing. So that's our security system. And I think it's very important that you have a security system for sure.
Oops. Okay, Ursula and then Fred.
Well, I was just wondering if anybody's put any thought into any sort of celebratory activity involved, connected to reopening the station a little bit.
You guys, I gotta run, but this is my favorite topic, Ursula. Yes, there has to be a huge party, of course. We have to. I've been thinking about like maybe some kind of art exhibit or mask destruction party, or the best way to repurpose your PPE now that we don't need it anymore. Either the best repurpose PPE kind of artwork or something, or the best way to destroy it and get rid of it forever. So I'm really looking forward to that. Our board also suggested a croquet tournament in the yard next to our building. So that's our other idea. But no, some kind of huge party. I can't wait for it. So I've got to run though, you guys.
Thanks, Sharon.
I can't wait to hear your party ideas. I'll check it out later.
I don't know. I don't know if we're at the point yet where we're ready to have a party. It was
I saw a thumbs up from Richard on the party. Like Davine was down for a party too. Like she wanted to have it at her place.
Well, we definitely want to celebrate, but we don't want to, I don't know. Feels like a lot to have a party, bringing people together right now.
Yeah, but hopefully it's something.
We can have a party here online.
Yes, we can.
Oh.
There you go.
Thumbs up for that. Well, thank you all for being there. Thank you for keeping this venue open, Stephanie. It's much appreciated. And I hope we don't let whatever resolution we have with COVID and between the next catastrophe destroy this wonderful camaraderie we have, because this has been life-saving. It has.
Oh, that's really nice to hear. Thanks, Celeste. Well, as long as people want to keep doing it, we'll keep doing it. So, on that note, and I saw there was Mercedes wanted to say something, but I just like to check in once in a while if anyone has a topic that they want to talk about.
I probably missed this. I'm sorry, Mercedes, for jumping. Did you all ever discuss how you were doing insurance coverages with respect to the FCC increasing the fines? Did I miss that one? Because I was trying to keep track, but I didn't know if it made it to discussion level.
I think the basic answer to that, Celeste, is there is no insurance to protect you against FCC fines other than due diligence to make sure you're not violating their laws, their rules.
Well, no, we have insurance, but we were trying to figure out how to increase what areas of coverage. That's what it is. But okay, I'll talk a little bit about that later. I don't want to impose on Mercedes anymore.
Well, with that, we'll go to Mercedes.
Thank you. That's nice. No, I certainly did not feel imposed upon. I talk a lot. I tend to have thoughts about everything, and I'm okay with that. So about the big party thing, we don't want to be, we don't want to risk becoming a super spreader, and the horrible reputation that would bring on our station. But we, as I've mentioned a couple times, we're a 30-year-old station. We're going to be going into the 31st year at the end of this fiscal year. We were supposed to have a giant thing last year. It had been planned for a year and a half, and because of COVID, we had to, of course, belay that, or stop that from happening. And then every time it got pushed back by the general manager, it's kind of like, hey, dude, this thing is still going on. Like, you can't just push it back 2 months. This is going to be a year out or more, and that's where we are. And I think right now he has it scheduled for September. We shall see. Because again, I do not want to bring discredit to the station as being a super spreader, assuming that everybody's vaccinated against every strain that will be in existence by September is just unrealistic in my opinion, but we shall have to wait and see.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, a friend of mine runs a small music festival, and he's thinking the same thing. I mean, it's normally the second weekend in July, and they're sort of targeting September too, but being real tentative about it.
I'm just kind of racking my brain trying to think of other ways to celebrate that don't feel so risky. I haven't come up with anything yet, but think about it a lot.
So you want to celebrate end of COVID or just returning to the station?
The return to the station, to this, or at least the station's beginning to open up, or some sort of sense of, I don't know, renewal of something changing.
Yeah. Maybe like a little mini gift basket or something. So you don't have to be physically together, but you can just, like, we appreciate you for being part of the radio.
We talked about doing like for our major donors doing like a Zoom or something where we send them some special coffee or a gift card or something, and then we all get together and we have a BYOB happy hour, like bring your own beverage or drink what we gave you, the coffee we gave you on screen, just for the camaraderie of it. But maybe that's what we have to look at. We just did a panel discussion of a film, and I was surprised at how many people participated in that and actually found it, they got some substance from a virtual connection. And so, maybe it has to be virtual for right now, which is a weird oxymoron, but it still seems to give people that sustenance, that sustaining connection that they need. So maybe we just need to be content with that for a bit. I don't know. I'm still exploring myself.
Yeah.
Davine.
So I'm wondering if, on the topic of the vaccine and it mutating, I'm wondering if we're going to have like annual vaccines for COVID like we do for the normal flu.
Someone was telling me they saw Dr. Fauci saying that if the strains keep mutating and, only a certain part of the population decides they want the vaccine, it could be like an annual thing, like the flu shot.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I think they still are learning how long we have the antibodies.
Mm-hmm.
This is all new for all of us, including the scientists. But that's kind of what I assume too, is that there's going to be boosters of some sort at some point. But I'm not a doctor or a scientist.
Like Celeste says, don't worry, just plan.
Mm-hmm.
this has been very important for that, because you can see just in the media and on social media and everywhere, it's like, yay, now we can go back. Now the world has changed and the danger is gone again, or the danger is gone. And so this meeting has been a great wake up call. Oh no, it's not gone.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't be thinking that it's gone. It's not gone. So thank you for the down to earth people who's like, this is not gone.
Yeah, good call. Any other thoughts? I see we're approaching 4:30. That's a good note to end it on.
Yeah, I got to get to the bar. I'll see you.
I have a question to ask, just kind of a general question. You know, something, an area that I experience a lot in my job at Pacifica is the tremendous need that independent production groups have to figure out how to survive. And very often wanting to talk about, you know, strategies for how to do an independent production group. Is this a type of topic that you would welcome on this forum, or would it be a better idea to invite independent groups to do a different roundtable, you know, separate from station management? Because it's a little bit of a different issue, but I'm not sure how interested you are in something like that.
I'm not sure.
That was a conversation.
I'm not sure I understand exactly what you're referring to.
Okay. Well, you know, the network includes more than 100 independent production groups that are not radio stations, but they work with Pacifica and they distribute their shows through Pacifica, and they are particularly hungry and desperate because they don't even have airwaves to, you know, raise money. They have no business model at all for how to survive. And they tend to be groups that are offshoots of, you know, community radio stations. I mean, Democracy Now! is an independent production group that came out of, you know, Pacifica. They're now obviously they're in a different category, but there's many shows that we distribute in audio port that are being done by independent groups, like Making Contact. Well, not Making Contact's not a good example, but Between the Lines is a great example. They've been doing an excellent show for, I don't know, 20 years, and they receive absolutely no money. Nobody gets paid for that. And so there's a lot of producers that, you know, distribute through Pacifica and are constantly calling me and saying, do you have any ideas about how we can, you know, survive? And want to talk to each other about that. I don't know if that's a conversation that would be appropriate here. But before I, you know, created a different conversation, I wanted to bring it here first to see if you're interested in it.
To me, it seems like there's definitely some.
I would say that.
Oh,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Joseph.
Okay, thank you. To me, that's what I think I am doing, because I stepped aside as the manager when I started with this group. I was the manager, and now I stepped aside as the lead producer. And I still have, I anticipate once I retire, I would still want to be an affiliate of Pacifica. And there's an avenue in the organization to do that. So I think it's how do stations get independent production is just as important as to them as for us independent producers to find places for our programs. There's a crossover here.
Yeah.
Thinking of an ongoing kind of meeting, or just
No, I was just thinking as one of the topics for this roundtable. I just don't want to, you know, have it be something that nobody really wants to hear about. What were you going to say, David?
Pretty much the same thing that Joseph said. I think there is some crossover, and you know, I don't know if, do you ever get these groups of people or this group of people together, like the station managers? Because it seems like it would be beneficial to get them together to talk amongst each other, but also since there is, I think, a fair amount of crossover, it would be interesting to bring that topic to this group as well. It seems interesting to me.
Okay, thanks. I mean, there's a lot of variations. There's groups that are very closely tied to stations that have come into, I've come to disagree with the management and decide to do their own thing. And there's other groups that, have been working for so long independently of the station that they started with, that they don't even have a relationship anymore. It's a big spectrum. So there's all sorts of, variations of what those relationships are. Does anybody else think that it's an interesting topic besides David and Joseph?
Looks like Davine wanted to say something.
So I've been managing this station for about 6 years, and I've come to realize that, especially, and we're a newer station, so we're not a station that has been around for 30 or 40 years like a lot of them have, and they have a following. And obviously media has changed a lot and is still changing. But I think there's also a place for an understanding that there's no money here for this. There may be some money for some people, but it's really it's an act of love to your community. So I think that's something that, I was an artist in a former life before the radio station happened, and I was fortunate enough to be able to do all right with it. But so many artists, they do it for their soul. They don't do it for the money. And so I think that's an aspect that should be considered.
Thank you, Davine. Celeste?
Hearing you say that and knowing that KBOO and other groups have contributed fundraising efforts and energy to some of the artist groups, support groups, I would encourage maybe this group, Ursula, to consider that they are a small business and that they are artists and that they apply to whatever support is being given out to those groups. And maybe it's a matter of framing, because even though they had before been able to support themselves through some means with their syndicated programs, I know KBOO outside of CPB money couldn't possibly afford to pay anybody anything. So I'm thinking maybe this is where they reframe their efforts so that they can apply for these funds. Because I know like Music Cares and other artist support efforts are out there, because they know that these artists don't have steady income right now. So it's not that I'm not interested, but I don't know what we could do beyond maybe helping them see. And maybe that's the whole point. Maybe that's the point of your thing. Maybe we can help them reframe the question so that we can see a possible answer, But I would definitely, some of them are small businesses. Some of them might be LLCs. Some of them might be just sole proprietors or entrepreneurs, but still maybe they have some aspect of business entity that will allow them to apply for these funds. And I would tell them, think in those terms and then seek that money, that support. Because I know states are getting money to help businesses, small businesses right now. That's part of the Biden plan. So I don't know, that's my 2 cents or 1 cent.
Thank you, Celeste.
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes.
I recognize that it's past time, but I just wanted to say that I'm interested in this topic, Ursula. We have, I thought we had over 400 nonprofits here in Butte County that I'd like to establish better partnerships with, but I just looked it up and it looks like there's almost 2,000 now. So I don't know if that is accurate. I just know we're a really active community, and having a consortium that's based around the radio station as a megaphone for all of these nonprofits, I think would be a super great thing to discuss. So I think I'd like to have that topic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mercedes. Well, maybe that would be a good topic, huh? Ursula's thinking.
Yeah, well, thank you for your feedback. Well, I'm just thinking about, some of these groups, like, for instance, Mark Safos, Stephanie, who has been years beating his head against the wall, and he's got an incredible product, working with LGBTQ youth and still cannot get any support. These things trouble me that it troubles me in general that community media just doesn't get more support, period. It weighs on me.
We are to be kept poor, barefoot, and in the dark, much like Haiti, because we speak against power.
Yeah.
Recognizing that dynamic, I'm never surprised by how poor we are.
Wow, that was a bombshell.
Bombshell. I don't know.
I felt that.
Doesn't sound like news to me.
Yeah, I think stations that are independent are not under a college or a church have been set up to fail because they don't really want independent voices out there. And, if you're with a college or a church, you're under their thumb, and there's a big difference there. So we've got to think outside the box and figure out how we survive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, again, I know we are at time, but
I mean, we can go as long as we want. I mean, that's fine with me. I just know there's people that have to go. And if you have to go, that's okay. Just so you know, but we can keep going. It's not like, it's fine.
Well, to Celeste's point and to what Davine just said, yes, that nonprofits are set up to fail. And so I'm a sociologist, and actually learned from Patricia Hill Collins, who is a Black feminist scholar, that there's this nonprofit industrial complex, right, which was started in the 1960s to quell the revolution. And that's why we have the infrastructure and the hierarchy that makes people have to follow bureaucratic things and says what groups can and cannot do with 501c3, 501c4. So it is, in fact, set up to quash real social change. And I think we're pushing back against that. And there's evolution from calling things nonprofits to calling things like community service organizations and trying to change that culture. But it is real. Yeah, that's an uphill climb, and it's totally intentional.
Wow, another truth bomb.
Yeah.
That would be
Haiti.
Would that be a good topic, you guys?
Say that again, Stephanie.
Would that be a good topic? The nonprofit
industrial complex.
Yeah.
I think we need to recognize how things have grown and mutated so that we don't think we're walking into this with a we're going to help the world, we are the world mentality, because things not only change, but they're changing even more rapidly and in ways that we can't what is the word I'm looking at? We can't foresee, I'm interested in it because it keeps me agile, and we have to stay mentally agile.
Okay, now I'm really going to the bar.
I'm kind of scared too.
I'm not scared. It just sounds like.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not scared. It's just a lot of work.
It is. When I got asked to come in and kind of help KBOO when it was going through a trial and tribulations, like, I'm a longtime volunteer. I've been on the board. I sat on the board 10 years in a row. And I really had to ask myself, what was my motivation? Am I a masochist, or, am I Don Quixote? What's going on? But, the bottom line is this. we my childhood superhero is well, cartoon, one of them was Super Chicken. Super Chicken said, I knew the job was dangerous when I took it. Okay. So all I can say is, yeah, it's going to be problems, it's going to be trouble. But, in the bottom line, we are here at this moment because this is where we're supposed to be. And we're born for a time like this. So if we remember we're doing the challenges we're supposed to do and we're prepared for life, it doesn't get quite as scary. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not absolutely fearless by any means. No, but by the same token, it's like, well, I can cower in the corner or I can stand up. And if I get my butt beat, I know where the medicine is. My split on heel, get back up. And if they get too bad, I hit them with my crutch.
You have a crutch?
Well, when I get hurt too bad, yeah. Or my cane or whatever accessory I have. I might just have to use my wit. Who knows?
Damn. Well, that was beautiful, Celeste.
I had my vitamins today. What can I say?
I think this is a really good topic to consider for the future is how media is changing. And is there a way that we can latch onto it beyond our 100 watts or whatever watts we have into the bigger world? And how those of us who are out here, with no support, how do we keep the doors open?
Do you tie that in with the nonprofit model? Yeah. Okay. Do you guys, is there anyone, like, would you want to hear from someone specifically on that? Or do you find like that would be like a today discussion, like everyone weighs in? Yes, I'm seeing from Davine. Mercedes. Okay. And yes, Celeste?
I'm thinking maybe we need to come to this having done a little piece of homework. Is there an organization that you feel has achieved this that you would want to hear from? And that way, because this is a broad topic, right, and it's many faceted. But, for example, and this is not an organization I necessarily want to contact, but I was trying to explain to a group, I do a talk show on cable, about how different cultures and different ethnic groups look at capitalism, and that for some it's not such an ogre as it is to some of us because of whatever challenges and restrictions they've overcome. But the group I was talking about was conscious capitalism. And I thought it was good for helping us reframe stuff. So maybe there's an organization out there for nonprofits that we've seen and we thought was interesting. Maybe we might bring them and compare their approaches and invite one or two of them in different times to talk to us.
Oh, that's a good idea. We could have that as like an ongoing thing. If someone discovers a nonprofit they think is good, we could hear about their model. Do any come to mind today? Davine, you're muted.
The woman from Tucson that comes periodically. She
Mercedes agrees.
Kathy.
She
Can't think of her last name.
She mentioned that because they have this educational program, they can get grants for it. And we do education. We teach people how to do radio and how to expand out to the internet and beyond. And so that's from what she said. I've started an intern program. I'm working with an intern now where we're going to develop that program. And I'm hoping that I can transfer that into other regional colleges where we can say, we're teaching students how to do new media, and will you give us a grant for that?
Cool.
Because I can't remember her name, but she said that they were able to get grants for education. And don't we all educate people?
Right. Would you like to have her talk about that here? Yeah, okay. Mercedes, how would you feel about kind of kicking off that talk with maybe a little history and background? It sounds like you're informed on that.
I don't know that I have time to prepare because of we're in our transition right now and there's some muckraking happening at our station.
Gotcha.
But I will contact a couple of my old professors that I'm still good with and see if they might be like have a little one pager with some reading resources or maybe like a little write up. Yeah, I think I can pull that together, but not, yeah, I
That
can
would be
speak,
lovely.
but sure,
Right, and
sure.
it wouldn't necessarily have to be like a full presentation.
Okay, sure.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that.
sometimes just get us going and then we'll
Okay.
go from there.
Yep, sounds great.
That sounds lovely. Okay, wonderful. How about next week?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I'll see what I can pull together, and I'll
And if
email
not,
you.
that's fine because this is ongoing, so it doesn't have to be next week. But that's just
Okay,
that's how.
rocking.
Okay, you'll let me know through email if that works. Okay. Anyone else have any more thoughts? Well, thank you again for a wonderful discussion, guys. You guys are, I don't know, you're just amazing. And thank you for joining us, and we'll be back next week with something or other. We'll figure out what it is. And keep as they say, in solidarity with keeping strong, with keeping, what's right for your station, and we'll talk again soon.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Take care.